Jill Fioravanti and Sarah Orozco. And Sarah is going to, Jill is going to do a presentation to give you a little taste of some of the concepts and tools that we use in Achieving Excellence. And then we'll go over a few of the questions about applications and just a few points about that, take questions. And I'll also present a couple times my information. So if you have other questions, you can feel free to follow up. And the website where we have a lot of information as well. So hopefully you've already reviewed some of the information, you know a little bit about the program. The Achieving Excellence program we call an organizational transformation program. So it's not so much a leadership program or a leadership development program, although those are aspects of what happens. There's leadership development that happens, and it's just not the main goal of the program. It's a byproduct. The main goal of the program is to help you tackle one of the challenges or issues that is most critical to your organization's success. And that could be a challenge that you need to tackle. It could be an opportunity that you want to pursue and is really critical to the success of your organization. We use the term challenge, which Jill will go over a little bit later in the presentation. And we take that challenge and convert it into a performance challenge, which she'll also talk about. But what we're going to ask you to talk about in your application, if you do decide to apply for the program, will be that challenge that you're facing, or opportunity, which again, we just call it a challenge. And we'll ask you to write about that. And so Jill's going to go over that a little bit, but I also want to be clear that when you're doing your application, you're not expected to already know everything we're planning to present in the program. So your application doesn't have to fit all of the criteria that we go through today. Really, I just want you to write in simple terms what you're facing and how you hope that the program might be able to help you with that. But to just give an overview of the program in general, I will try to forward my slides, which it will not go. Okay, just to give an overview of the program, and I will get to the slides later. Achieving Excellence is a 16-month program. It involves 3 sessions where you will meet at Harvard 3 separate times for about a week each if you are accepted into the program. And there's also executive coaching that happens throughout the program. So you would meet your coach at that first session at Harvard, and you would also meet your peer group, and you would work together throughout the entire 16 months. The 3 sessions that happen at Harvard include the curriculum or the content. That's one of the 4 C's that we're going to talk about. The other C is the coaching. You get executive coaching throughout the program. And there's also the cohort of the peer group that you will work together in a very structured peer format throughout the 16 months together. And then the final C is the challenge, the performance challenge that you'll be working on. And just to be very, very clear about this and explicit, the entire program is focused on helping you accomplish that challenge that you've laid out. So when you're listening to the sessions at Harvard, or when you're listening to a peer talk about their challenges or what tools they're going to use, you are thinking about how that can also help you with your challenge. And every session is intended to be something that can add value to you tackling your challenge. And we don't have sessions in there that are just interesting. We try to have everything aimed at helping you tackle that challenge that you need to face. And so the coaching, the color group, which we call the peer group, is a color group because there's purple, red, blue, different color groups. Curriculum and coaching all are aimed at getting you to focus on that challenge. And who is you? There's a lot of people joining the call today, which I really appreciate. and I will give contact information later so you can all let me know who you are. But the ideal candidate for the program that we're looking for is generally a CEO or executive director, also other senior leaders, that somebody that has significant authority over a budget and staff so that you're able to make transformational change in the organization. There are some exceptions. So for example, if somebody oversees a network or some sort of association, and maybe is the only staff person, or maybe there's only one other staff person, there's still the opportunity there to create transformational change through the network that you oversee. But generally it's somebody that's been in the CEO or other senior leader position, preferably for at least 2 years, preferably with the same organization for 5 years. Those are guidelines, not hard and fast rules, but the reasons, especially for the 2 years, are because we find that you need those 2 years to really understand your position, to really understand what challenges the organization is facing, and to know who your allies are, who's going to be there, who might be resisting the change you're trying to create. And in those first 2 years, you're still kind of getting the lay of the land. So after, we find that if somebody comes through the program within those first 2 years, usually they find it's a little too early and they wish they had waited a bit. And after that, usually you've got enough of the lay of the land to really make good use of these tools that we talk about in the program. And that said, it is a program for high-performing senior leaders and CEOs in high-performing organizations. That doesn't mean that every organization is perfect. No organization is perfect. It doesn't mean that there are no challenges. You're coming with a challenge or an opportunity, so that is definitely there. But somebody that is strong and feels in their position like they have done what they're able to do, and now they want to take that position or the organization to another level. And maybe they don't even know what that other level is, but you know that there's something else that needs to happen. An example that I like is a CEO started with one of our network organizations in one of the NeighborWorks organizations. And it was a very strong organization, spoke at all the conferences, did everything. And they're working in Appalachia. And he said, it's a great organization, but we're only serving 2,000 people a year, and there are 8,000 people a year in need. He said, I don't know how we need to address that, but I know we need to do something differently so that we can serve more people. And in less than, I think it was a 10-year time frame that he set for himself, he was able to accomplish that. And they were serving 8,000 people a year. And just to also be clear, you do not have to be a NeighborWorks network member to participate in this program. Only about 30% of the participants in Achieving Excellence are from the NeighborWorks network. So if you don't even know what that is okay too. About 70% are from the broader community development field. And we, NeighborWorks organizations tend to focus more on housing, but we want also organizations from that working in health, in green and environment, and education. Those of you who are helping serve your communities, we want to help you make your organizations and your communities stronger. And we think that makes a much more robust program too. And we do call this an organizational investment program because you're investing in the organization, and a lot of change can come throughout the program. And so while I will go over the pricing later and the time commitment and how intense that can be, and we want you to know what you're getting into, but people that have been through the program almost to a person feel that it is worth much, much more than the investment that is put into it. In one class alone, there was nearly $500 million of new capital that was leveraged that they said was specifically because of their participation in the program. We do impact studies after each program to find out not just what changed, because a lot of things can change over 16 months, but of that change, what do you attribute to your participation in the Achieving Excellence program? And it's been an impressive set of results, which I will show you when I can get the slides going. And to go over some of the deadlines and key dates that you want to keep in mind. Let me just try and get those slides back up again. Still not going. There we go. I don't know why that started working, but now it's working. Yay. Just going to stop for a second as these go by. These are the 3 C's: curriculum, color group, and coaching, with the performance challenge at the center of everything that happens in the program. This is a little bit about the candidate profile: an executive director or other senior leader with significant authority and authority over budget and staff to make transformational change. These are some of the results. Some things are also included on the website, so you can go there. These are the deadlines and the key dates that I wanted to mention. April 15th is the day you need to get your taxes done and get your application in if you want to apply to the program. You are more than welcome to submit your application before then, but that is the last date that we will be accepting applications. We will then review and notify all applicants of our decisions by June 1st. If that changes, we will let you know if there's any need to have that extended or anything. So that is actually why I'll ask you to be in touch with me if I haven't already heard from you. Share your email address just so I can keep you posted as in case there are any changes. Then the program would start in September, the 13th to the 18th at Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In early November of 2020, I believe it would be the 9th and 10th. There would be a meeting of about a day and a half in Chicago. Fly in on the first day and fly out when it ends on the second day. And then February to March, about a week there, February 28th to March 5th would be the second module that happens at Harvard again. In summer of 2021, each of the peer groups decides on a location to meet at one of the office locations of a peer group member and on dates that the whole group agrees to. So you would have say in when that happens. September of 2021, we do not have the exact dates yet, but that would be the 3rd module at Harvard. And then it would conclude with another color group meeting in January of 2022. Those are the key dates. Those are also up on the website. And so I just want to leave this up for a second while you jot it down if you need to. NeighborWorks.org/AE, as in Achieving Excellence, is where you can find more information. There is a link to the application. There will be a link to the recording of this webinar. And if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to direct those to aeprograms@nw.org, as in Achieving Excellence, aeprograms@nw.org. And I will be happy to address those. We'll be taking some questions at the end too. I want to go over the budget quickly, and then we're going to hear from Jill. The investment that you make in time is substantial. The investment in the tuition, we understand, is also more than going to an NTI, if you're familiar with those. Much less, actually, than some of the Center for Creative Leadership courses or others. And as I've said, most or all participants, I will say most, feel that they get many, many, many times this value in what they get at their organization in return on investment. So a small organization is one that we consider one with less than a core operating budget of less than $750,000. Large organizations are those with a core operating budget of more than $2 million, and in between we call intermediate. The total tuition paid by the small organizations is $6,500 paid in 2 installments. Medium organizations pay $10,000 per participant, and large organizations $14,000 per participant. And what it costs NeighborWorks America and our partners for the program is about $42,000 per participant. So a lot of times people ask if there are scholarships for this. There's already a scholarship built in because the costs are heavily subsidized by NeighborWorks America and our partners. And if you do want to seek help or grants or any other support for your tuition part of it, that is also fine. And I'm happy to be a support if there's a partner that you would like me to connect with. I can share materials, you can send them to the website, whatever's helpful there. But we do feel that those who are contributing to the tuition are more invested generally in the program too. And the tuition covers the tuition for all of the Harvard courses. It covers the executive coaching throughout the 16 months, the lodging during the Harvard sessions, and during the Chicago meeting, which is the one in November. Most of the meals, there's a couple times you'll go out with your color group, and that is pay your own expenses. Some things that are not covered, and graduates of the program have wanted us to make sure that we do mention this because these are also pretty sizable investments from your organization, or they can be. And that's the travel costs. All of the travel expenses would be covered by you or your organization. And that would include the 3 trips to Harvard, Chicago, the summer meeting, and the final meeting. And like I said, there's a few meals too, if you want to buy your Harvard souvenirs, things like that. There's other expenses, but that gives you an idea of what is included and what is not included in the tuition. Sometimes people say when we do try to be clear about the time commitment that's necessary, people say, I don't have time for this. This is just, you know, it's, if you say this is going to take up more than half of my time on some days and some weeks, that's not something I have time for. But we want you to realize that this isn't extra work. This isn't busy work in any sense. This is you addressing the challenge that you think is most critical for the success of your organization. And we're giving you, the plan is that we're giving the time and the opportunity and the tools such as coaching and new ideas and new language, new tools to address whatever that challenge is that's most important for you at your organization. So it is a significant time investment. The 3 weeks away and then the other dates, those are 3 weeks away and some other dates. But the real time that you commit is back day to day at your office, working on the challenge that you think is most important to your organization. And so it does take a lot of time, and you'll get a lot of return on investment if you put a lot into it. And we just want you to be aware of all of that, really, that it's a major return and it's a major investment on your part. And you definitely get out of it what you put into it. This is a slide that is not really meant to be read, but there's a story that's posted online about somebody who said, I don't have time to work on all of this. And by the second module, she said, I will always have time for this because it is such a great return on investment and so valuable. And before Jill, who is one of our coaches, starts talking, I want to just, again, share the website, neighborworks.org/AE, as in Achieving Excellence. And so hopefully you can get answers to some questions there. And then my email, again, you can send to aeprograms@nw.org. And I will come back again after Jill talks. Jill Fioravanti is one of our coaches. She oversees the Silver Group and has been a coach with Achieving Excellence, I think, for 4 rounds now. And she's going to give you a little taste of what some of the language is like and some of the tools that we use in Achieving Excellence. And Jill, I'm going to go and unmute you now. Okay. Jill, can we hear from you?
Hi, you all hear me? Can you hear me?
There you go. Got it, Jill.
Great.
Can hear you.
Hey, that's the scariest part right there. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Fioravanti. I'm thrilled to be here with y'all today. I've been a coach with Achieving Excellence since AE7, so for 3 rounds, which means I coached about 30 folks that have gone through Achieving Excellence and started in 2014 with my involvement as a coach. And my colleague, Sarah Roscoe, is on the line as well. She's been a coach for the last 2 rounds of AE. So while I'll be speaking today, this is a presentation that all the coaches, the 5 coaches that just went through AE9, the most recent round, worked on together. So I want to just kind of reiterate some of the points that Chris made about the goals of Achieving Excellence to kind of ground us again in that before I go into some specific examples of kind of how this all gets put into practice. As Chris said, AE is an organizational transformation program, and the way that that transformation takes place is through the performance challenge framework. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. And within that performance challenge, it's both setting the challenge and then reaching measurable goals and wins, as we like to say, related to that challenge. And so by doing that, not only are you transforming your organization, but you're also improving your own leadership capabilities, your skills, your approach, the way you look at what it means to lead and manage in your organization. And that will carry with you, I think, not only perhaps in the role you're in now, but in future roles and you may have, and in how you really look at what it means to be a civic leader today. So these goals are really, they go hand in hand, and they're all interrelated to one another. I want to just talk a little bit about the AE language, and you'll see again this term performance-driven change. That's really what grounds the approach and the vernacular that we use in AE. Achieving Excellence began in 2001, 2002, I think, Chris. And there have been core tools that were started at that point when AE began, and then it's really evolved and been iterated upon as the years have gone on, as different management and leadership approaches have come forth. And so we really see this as a dynamic set of tools and principles that are really grounded in certain foundational ones that have lasted ever since the beginning. And this is all, and our language is also informed by our relationship with Harvard's Kennedy School and with the professors that come not just from the Kennedy School, but from other departments and other schools within Harvard. And that really also helps us grow and evolve and improve upon the language that we use. So the next slide shows a bit of the key tools that we will be teaching even at the very beginning of AE. When you start in September, we go through these and many more. And these are shorthands. Each of these have explanations as to what they mean. And there's many others that aren't on this list, but these are really the core key tools that particularly are used to develop your performance challenge and to expand upon your challenge once you launch it and when you start going through the program. So I do just want to call out the RAISE framework, the Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion framework. This is an integral part of Achieving Excellence and will be even more so in this coming round. In AE9, in the round that just recently finished, we were piloting different approaches to talking about ready, to being ready into assignments and into Harvard lectures, into our work as coaches and into readings. And that's going to be expanded upon even more in AE10 and moving forward. So I do just want to call that out in particular. So Chris was saying earlier on, as you heard, that the center of those 3 circles is a performance challenge. You might be asking, what exactly is a performance challenge? I do just want to stress, and Chris said this too, and the coaches wanted to make sure to stress this, that the development of the performance challenge takes time and takes a lot of, we like to say, slow thinking, getting on the balcony. And within that, it's really around identifying what exactly is the problem you're going to try to solve and what's going to be yours and others who are going to be coming along with you, the collective approach to try to solve that. So that takes time, and much of what we do in our coaching work in the first 2 to 3 months of the program is to really help you deliberately think through that challenge and think through how to put that down on paper and how to vet that with key people, so that you can really get that buy-in and that clarity that you need. So when you work on the performance, when you work on the questions in the assignment that talk about what are the top 2 to 3 issues that are most critical to your organization, don't feel, as Chris said, that you need to have that be completely figured out by the time you start the program. That's a lot of what we're going to be doing with you as a coach in between calls and during our calls. So the challenge, what we mean by that is that it's a clear statement of the challenge your organization is attempting to address, and most importantly, what significant and measurable change you're looking to achieve. And then we have a series of criteria that we really have to vet your idea through to see if it actually complies with those, with what the term is really all about. So as we've said, it has to be top to your organization. There's a time frame we're really looking to have that performance challenge be implemented, which is a 12 to 20 month time frame. Not a discrete project. It's really something that's broader than that. It's going to involve not just you, but other key people in your organization. It's going to require change and learning. So we talk about technical versus adaptive behavior, technical change versus adaptive behavior. And that's a concept that's really around this idea that this challenge is likely not going to be something that you already know how to do completely. There's going to have to be some learning and growth by you and from others that are key and integral to its success. That you feel at risk to some degree. This isn't something you feel like is a slam dunk. That's going to require some reach and some growth and learning and experimentation and some real reflection on your part and some trial and error. And that it matters. This is something that's not just important to you, but that's important to multiple stakeholders and constituencies. And it's important and it matters now. That we like to say, is it ripe? Is it something that's really ready for the taking, that people are going to be able to devote the time that they need to in order to accomplish it? And again, all this, I just want to say again, don't feel when you write your application, if you're planning to apply, that you have to satisfy all of this now. This is what we literally spend 2 to 3 months working on with you. So we just want to give you on this call a little bit of a flavor of the kinds of things you're going to be doing if you get accepted into the program, that you'll be then building out in the first few months and then ongoing as you go through. So I'm just going to spend about 5 minutes or so talking a little bit about some of how this actually gets put into practice, and I'm going to use an example of somebody that's gone through AE to model some of the tools, just a couple of them, so you can see how it looks. So the first step that we really work on with folks is what we call defining the problem, and I think this quote by Einstein is just a really good one to kind of remind ourselves that we so often go straight to a solution without really thinking about what the problem itself was. And so we like to put this quote up there when we're talking about these tools. We say it all the time when we're coaching folks, that we really want to spend time thinking about the problem before jumping into the solution. Example that I'm going to show is an example of a housing community development organization, a relatively small organization in those 3 buckets Chris laid out. This enterprise would be in that small org first bucket, and if I had more time, I could have given an example. All the coaches have them of a medium-sized organization, a large organization, one in housing, one in education, one in policy. We have examples from all different sectors, all different size budgets and staff. So I just want to stress this is just one example, and I hope that the lessons and the terms as you see it, you can envision extrapolating to whatever circumstances you happen to be in your organization. So this group was a CDC in a small city. They had the business lines you see there, and the executive director had been in the role for several years before starting AE. So he kind of met and exceeded that threshold Chris was saying about kind of having your feet wet and really comfortable in the position before kind of jumping into an AE type experience. So one of the tools that we think people all really latch onto and they can kind of grasp right away is this idea of a from to. And it's a way of identifying the problem in a sense of where are you now and where do you want to be going. So his from to was moving from a reactive stance, and I'll get in a minute to what the proactive side, but from a reactive stance to a proactive stance. So you can see as he was identifying the problem, he was saying our organization is just too reactive, and you can see all the ways he defines reactive. So one of the things as a coach, we would say, well, what do you mean by that? How would you define reactive? And so he lists these different things, and I'm guessing several of you on the call probably can relate to at least one or more of the bullets. I particularly like the not fun, always behind, right? Like that idea of reacting to things versus like taking the bull by the horns and being in charge of your own destiny was what he was really trying to problem solve around. And then you can see how he defines the proactive side. So to go from reactive to proactive, we say the same question, what does proactive mean? And for him, proactive is going from a funding position that's from more based and reimbursable to something that's more earned. You're really earning those funds and being able to bring in revenue that's unrestricted that you can position and reinvest in as you see fit versus a funder dictating that for you. Being out front of issues, having a different culture within the organization, experimenting and testing and having things be more rewarding for all those that are involved and not something that just feels like a drag that you're always behind the eight ball, always kind of reacting and dealing with fires. So through these conversations about the from to, we then as coaches will say, well, how would you know success? Like you've talked about the proactive stance. What does that really mean over a 12 to 20 month period? How would you really measure that? And so that's what then turns into the performance challenge. So his performance challenge then was over the next 18 months, our organization will proactively address at least one new mission-oriented problem facing our community while increasing our unrestricted revenue by 20% of our total budget through activities that can be replicated on an annual basis. And I really like that last part of this, the replication. One thing about AE, if you remember, it's an organizational transformation program. So you're not really transforming your organization if you do something that's a blip on a radar that isn't something that's then part and parcel of the way your organization is going to operate moving forward. So the idea of annual replication, that this isn't a flash in the pan, this is really about transforming the way in which that organization does what it does over the long term is what it was really aiming for. And then if you go into the next slide, we then say, okay, let's get even more specific here. How would you even know that was the case? And so he lists several SMART outcome-based goals, and I think the SMART goal terminology is familiar, I'm guessing, to almost everyone, if not everyone on the call. Specific, measurable, aggressive yet achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So he then lists, okay, if I'm really going to hit that 20% of my budget is earned, it's replicated, and addressing something that's in my community through a more mission-oriented way, you can see how he's defining that. So he's launching fee-for-service opportunities, he's increasing his net income from special events, he's launching an initiative, and he's very specific with the money he wants to get from that. He's receiving contributions from loan consortium lending partners, so he's changing his balance sheet, and then he's starting to look at some longer R&D work around launching a social enterprise. So then 18 months later, I went back. This is somebody I coached. I went back and looked at where he was at the end of AE, and this is what he had accomplished. Not just him, but people along with him. They had launched an acquisition rehab program, and actually that has since become a significant profit center for the organization several years later. They renegotiated almost all of their loan servicing agreements. They increased their unrestricted revenue. They did become much more proactive, much more entrepreneurial. They changed the way their board meetings were structured. They ended up hiring a couple new staff people to be able to further the work they were trying to do. So again, really in changing the way the organization was structured. And then they changed staff positions as well. So this organization became much more resilient, much stronger, and really saw itself and its role in the community differently over the 18 months and had measurable wins to be able to prove that. So just last slide I would want to share. Again, this is just one example. We have hundreds more of examples from a range of organization size, business lines, sectors. Chris talked earlier about this as well, and we're really excited about the opportunity for AE to continue to bring a diverse set of voices and perspectives and sectoral knowledge to the table. So I'm excited for the opportunity to 2 years from now, to be able to show examples of wins and of successes in housing as well as in other sectors as well. And we have those already under our belt. These are just a couple tools, the From To, the Performance Challenge, SMART Goals, Wins. There's many, many others. And it's really essential not just to learn those tools, but to use them. It's like speaking a language, a new language. The more you practice it, the more you talk with others, the more you really engage in it, it becomes something that's just how you think and how you see the world and how you see your role as a leader. And we as coaches really strive to have that language be something that's just how you do your work as a result of AE. This work really does result in measurable performance change, individual leadership growth, and stronger enterprises. And those are those 3 goals that I said at the beginning and that Chris said even earlier on. And then this last bullet, I mean, I could go on a lot longer on this, but there's definitely kind of ingredients for success. And I think some of them are listed here, but one is that a real willingness for slow thinking, for really getting on the balcony, as we like to say, looking at trends, taking a step back, and being more proactive in the way you approach your work. The sustained commitment to the program, being willing to be courageous, to work with teams, to build and to motivate teams, to make a real serious commitment to doing the hard work for this, and the courage to take on difficult issues, and many others. All of this is what it really takes to go into this, but we promise you that it will pay off. And we have many, many, many examples of how it can pay off. So I'll stop there. I know Chris has a few closing slides, and then we want to leave time for Q&A, but Sarah and I and the other coaches who have been involved with AE, who helped put this presentation together, just want to say good luck if you decide to apply. We look forward to having a great crew with AE10, and thank you for being on this and being interested in the program.
Thank you so much, Jill. And I've also unmuted Sarah, so if there are questions for coaches, Sarah and Jill, you are both unmuted. Everybody else is still muted. And just going to go over a few more points before we get to questions. Don't want to get too much in the weeds about questions as far as all the things that Jill just talked about. You have to come join the program if you want to learn more about that. But we will have time for some questions. So if you do want some clarifying answers or anything about the program at all, we're happy to address that. So just again, the application deadline is April 15th. And I said this before, Jill said it, I just want to reiterate that you don't have to write up your essays that are in the application as if you've already taken the program. And I want to say even more than that, which is to say, please write simply, even as if you're writing an email to a friend to say, here are some issues I've been focusing on, some things that I want to address since the last time I saw you. Sometimes I think people think they're applying to Harvard and they want to use fancy words and they pull out the thesaurus, and that's really not what we're going for. We want just to know what is the challenge that you're facing. Give it to us straight. Tell us if you've had a role in that, the different things that the essays ask. But we're not grading for grammar. We're not grading for anything like that. We just want to get a sense of what you're facing. And again, you may not know exactly how you plan to address it, and we want to help you figure that out, but we just want to know a sense of maybe if you've had some ideas about it, what the challenge is, things like that. But please don't feel that you need to make it fancy or the Great American Novel, just let us know what you're facing. And then as we make the decisions about the program, we're again, not trying to be mysterious about how we choose. We're looking for high performing leaders in high performing organizations that can have a powerful impact in the work that they're doing. And so high performing just means this isn't a remedial program. It's not for a struggling manager who wants to learn how to become a better manager, that sort of thing. This is about transforming the organization. So we want people that are excited to do that for their own organizations and learn all these tools along the way that will travel with you through different positions and experiences too. So other questions you can feel free to address again to aeprograms@nw.org. The website has a few sample challenges. It has some testimonials on there. It's got, hopefully it'll answer different questions about the cost, things like that. And we'll be taking some questions too. So we've got 2 questions in chat already. I will address these while you think up. If you have any other questions, I'll unmute the lines in a minute. So if you are flying a jet plane or anything right now, please mute your own line, but I'm going to unmute all the lines collectively. So one question that we had was about housing versus non-housing groups. NeighborWorks America is known more as in the housing field. And so, like I said, you definitely do not need to be a member of the NeighborWorks network to participate in Achieving Excellence. You also don't have to be a housing organization. We want a robust group of participants from different organizations, different lines of business, different positions, different race, ethnicity, religion, background, experience. It's just a much more robust program with more diversity. And so different types of nonprofits, everything. And also we have had some government organizations. We've had housing authorities tend to make really great participants as well, folks from housing authorities. So a lot of diversity is what we're looking for in every way. And as Jill mentioned, what we call READY, Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion are an important part of this program as well. And it's an important part of our work and working in communities, working in nonprofits, and just being in America. It is an important part of everything we do, and we will address it head on in different ways within the program as you learn different tools and approaches to use in your work. Race, equity, diversity, inclusion will also be some of the key elements that we address. And then another question about...
Hey, Chris, can I just say one thing on that one also? Just, this is Jill again. Just one thing I would say is we also have historically had lots of different sectors go through AE in the past. There's been renewable energy participants, policy participants, someone just finished who is the principal of a charter school. So, so AE has had a history of having participants from other sectors as well, and we're looking to expand that moving forward.
Right, thanks, Jill. And one other question was somebody who has been at an organization for 8+ years and was just promoted to director 4 months ago. And what are the chances there for acceptance? One additional note, well, 2 additional notes I will add that are kind of relevant to this. The program doesn't start for, what is it, another 6 months. So that's another 6 months between now and then. So that affects how long you've been in your position. Obviously, that will be another 6 months from now. It also means that the challenge that you write up now might not be the challenge that you decide to work on later. That's okay. We understand that. You don't have to feel like it's written in stone. So just want to be clear about that. I would say that if somebody's been in a position for the 4 months plus the 6 months between now and then, so a total of 10 months in the position, if that is I'm not sure if it's director of the organization or director of the program. So that can make a difference too. And I would say it's worth applying because they're, if you've been at the organization for 8+ years, you know most of the players internally, probably, or at least many, hopefully. There's a big difference between being a manager and being CEO. It just changes the perspective. So if somebody is going maybe from manager to CEO position, I would probably want to see more time in the position there, because you do get to know more about the real issues across the organization that you didn't know when you were in just one managerial position. You get to know more who the external players, stakeholders are, who your allies are internally and externally, things like that. So I would want to see more than 10 months, but that also doesn't mean it's an automatic, it's not an automatic denial or anything like that. I'm happy to talk with anybody who wants to talk through your situation or your challenge. It's not, I'm happy to talk through it. If you want to say you're batting something around, we can brainstorm it, whatever it might be. I'm happy to do that with folks, so just let me know. Okay, now comes the big moment of unmuting all lines.
Yeah, how do we solve
Everybody is
those
now
things?
unmuted.
I don't think we do in our
See
lifetime.
if this works. Does anybody have any
I'm
questions?
hopeful that our children's generation,
Makes
now mine
more
and yours
indoors.
are almost in different
Okay.
generations,
Mhm.
but 20 years
Unmuting
is
is not
considered
working.
generational. And
Going
he's
back
20
to
and she's
muting.
7, 8.
Mhm.
So technically,
There we go. Okay, if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. And I just want to make sure that Jill and Sarah get unmuted in case you have any questions for them. Jill is now unmuted. And Sarah is unmuted. Okay, great. Any questions? Again, this will be recorded, so if you want to watch it again and again, you're free to do that. If you want to share it with friends, this will be posted on the main Achieving Excellence website, which is neighborworks.org/AE, as in Achieving Excellence. Thank you all for joining, getting some comments in the chat section. Okay, how many participants are accepted in the program? Thank you, good question. About 50 participants, give or take, are accepted in each round, and then each peer group has 10 people in it. So there are 5 peer groups of 10 people each, 50 people in the total program overall. And yeah, it would run September of 2020 to January of 2022. Other questions? Let's do a time check. We're doing good on time. Again, I am happy to address any questions. You can use aeprograms@nw.org to send questions that way. Email is probably the best way to start, even if you want to set up a call so we can brainstorm your challenge if you want to do that, or your situation. I'm happy to do that. Shoot me an email. And I'll stay on for a few more minutes in case anybody comes up with any questions, or Sarah or Jill, if you have any comments you'd like to make, feel free. I think you should be unmuted. How many people, and I'll just keep answering as things come up. How many people typically apply for the program, and what makes a competitive application? Those are 2 questions. Thank you, Julia. Usually we have at least 100 applications for each round, so that means we have to cut about half. And I think that this round might be even more competitive than that, possibly 3 times as many as we're able to take. So we'll see. Excuse me, a competitive application is somebody that, like I say, can show that I'll tell you actually how the program started, because I think that helps illustrate it a little bit. In around 2000, 2001, executive directors were coming up to NeighborWorks America staff at the training institutes and saying, I've been a CEO for 10, 20 years. I'm at the top of my game. I speak at all the conferences. I've taken all the classes. There's really nothing left for me to do as a challenge. So I am going to change jobs just to find a new challenge. But I'd rather stay where I am and help find the next level, figure out what the next level would be for my organization, and then figure out how to get there. And when I'm reading applications, and I advise the review committee to read applications, thinking about, it's easy to say, oh, achieving excellence would be really great for this challenge that this person is facing. But what we're looking for is somebody who's ready to take their organization to the next level. Now, what we've had a lot in the last few rounds, I would say, because of the environment, is a lot of organizations are looking to find more ways to generate revenue. And the example that Jill gave was a good example for that. We've also had a lot of organizations that are looking to move from being kind of mom and pop shops, smaller, and they have become large organizations with multiple divisions, different types of work, working regionally maybe, and their systems didn't necessarily keep up with all their growth, and so they're looking to make that happen. And so there's and some of the challenges are production challenges, like the example I gave with Fahi and Appalachia, and Jim King wanted to be able to meet 4 times as many customers each year and serve 4 times as many customers. And the way they did that was by consolidating their services. They had a network. In that network, each organization had a volunteer manager, each organization had a loan processor, and everybody was doing their own work. So instead, they worked together as a consolidated services. There was one volunteer manager for everything, loan processors that did all that they needed done for the participating organizations. So again, it's not by just working 4 times harder or hiring 4 times as many people that you can accomplish the challenge, but they needed to change the way they worked. And so they did that through the consolidated services and were able to make that change happen, and happen in a less time than they had originally anticipated. So we're looking for somebody that is excited about the work that they're doing and wants to help take it to another level. And so like I say, it's not necessarily, we're not grading for grammar or anything like that, but just trying to see who is really ready to learn, who is able to accept their own roles in some of the things that have happened so far that maybe could have gone better, and people want to learn how to help make those things go better and really want to take the organization to the next level. Another question that just came in: we're a large organization looking to transform our organization in order to affect broad systems change. Is that too aspirational? No, it is not. That sounds great. In the first few months of the program, like we talked about and Jill talked about, we will spend time, a lot of time, on honing that to a challenge that is specific, measurable, all of those things, SMART goals. And we also say it's between a Band-Aid and world peace. So we want to create broad systems change, might be a little bit more toward world peace, but we spend several months working on this and getting it down into whatever bite-sized pieces are necessary to make sure that you are defining a challenge and milestones and measures of success, and recognizing the different people and systems that would need to be involved in change, and going through that whole process. So you would spend the first several months taking it from affect broad systems change to honing that into specific, measurable, aggressive but achievable, realistic and time-bound goals. And you probably already know what you mean by affect broad systems change. And so we would have you get some of that in writing. What do you mean? What would success look like? What would the systems be doing differently if you are successful? Things like that. And so focusing on all of that in those first, it's really the first few months. So from when the program starts in September and through that November meeting in Chicago, and a little bit after that, kind of up to and sometimes through the holidays, is really all of that is honing that performance challenge, getting buy-in from stakeholders, including the other people that you know are going to you're going to need to be involved in making the work happen. So that is not too aspirational a challenge. It's great. And in your essay, please try to say a little bit about what you mean about affect broad systems change. And then we'd spend the first few months honing that. Sarah has a comment she'd like to make. And Sarah, I think that you are unmuted. So let's see if we can hear you.
Right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being on this call. I hope all of you get inspired by this talk and are able to apply to our program. It's a fantastic program. I just want to make a comment about leadership. Even though it is not per se a leadership development program, everybody in this program transforms their whole leadership as a result of having gone through this program. So we don't do leadership development, but as a result of you going through your performance challenge, there's no way you're not going to change as a leader. So it's, I just wanted to say that is an incredible leadership transformational program in the sense that you, through the work, you get there.
Thanks, Sarah. It's so true. And I think we can all tell stories of people that changed so much. Just, yeah. And people say they use these tools in their personal lives too. There's a lot of helpful stuff in there. I think we're getting close to 3 o'clock. We've got just a couple minutes. So if anybody else has a quick comment or question, we're happy to take that. And Sarah said something that I wanted to comment on. One other thing is that we have had more than one participant from an organization from time to time. If the situation is right, we've sometimes had, for example, a COO and a CFO, or a CEO and COO, for example. And there's a few different things we would look into if that situation seems right for your organization, and some additional questions, but it is a possibility to apply more than one from an organization. Tuition is per person, just to be clear about that. But again, you really, truly, I think in life, you mostly get out of it what you put into it, but some things more than others, and this program is very much one. If you put in all the effort and the time and the work, the results that you see will be really incredible. So like Sarah and Jill said, we hope that you will be inspired by this. We hope that you'll apply if you're interested. I'm happy to go through that with anybody. Application deadline is April 15th. More information available on the website, neighborworks.org/AE, including, like I said, some testimonials. There's also a list of previous participants. Likely you know somebody that's on the list, so I would encourage you to talk to past participants from the program to find out about their experience. Some of not all the contact information there is up to date. Some people have moved organizations and things like that. So I need to update that. I was pulling it from some older data, but the names are there, and city, state, and organization that they were with when they went through Achieving Excellence. So feel free to reach out to anybody you know if you want to do that. They tend to be very open to talking about their experiences. And I think that's it. It's 3 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap up. Feel free to contact me, aeprograms@nw.org, and other information is all on the website. So happy to talk with any of you. Hope to see applications by April 15th, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, everybody.